get those work done.
I should have been recording what you were saying so that Ted
I
could
know, I
hear
thought of
like
that
what
too,
you're
like,
Oh,
for Timmy.
yeah,
even
Their whole
just
family's
hearing
on a
how it
mission,
works.
doing things for him, you know.
yeah, yeah,
The alarm goes off, you know, they know. they
Well,
want
even
to
just
check
hearing how it all
hospitals.
works,
For
'cause
sure.
Yeah.
Ted
Sure.
used to work in
Yeah,
sports medicine. He's an athletic
Oh,
trainer,
okay.
so he kind of
And I
understands a
remote
lot
area,
of this stuff.
actually.
Oh, never mind.
Long
That's
ago.
where I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he had a good friend that was a PT there with him.
Okay.
PT or sports medicine.
Okay. And
But then it got to be so many nights they want them at Northern and all over the place in the evenings, you know, they want sports medicine people for games and
right,
stuff. And
right. Got busy here. So I was looking at the genetic glitch in the heart was type 9 collagen. Okay, so it's just saying the body doesn't make enough collagen to consistently repair that valve. So
Okay.
helpful to take collagen every day then, or is it?
yeah, the trouble is it's type 9 and there's not a whole lot of type 9 out there. Most of the collagen out there is type 1 and 2. So
What do you recommend? Because I'm taking it because I was told that. Well, I started, and then you reiterated something about it, and I was starting it in January. I've been taking it since then. But
okay.
is there one better than the other? I'm taking grass-fed, whatever.
Yeah, that would be fine.
And somebody
sure.
said marine is better, and I thought, well, whatever.
Yeah, and more importantly though is what is the genetic glitch to making it naturally,
Okay.
right? So we want to fix it so she doesn't have to take type 9
Got
collagen
it.
the rest of her life. Let's
Yeah.
fix the machinery, right,
Got it.
to
To
help her
fix it.
body produce
Got
it, right?
Instead of treating
Got it.
symptoms, get to the
Right,
root of
get
the
to
root
the root of
cause.
the cause, right?
Yeah.
Which is saying, based on the scan, is in the chromosomes. It's a genetic mutation, right? Ultimately, but with the field of epigenetics now that is modifiable, right? So you can change the expression of those genes, right? And you
Wow.
can make a gene that's very inefficient more efficient.
Nice.
I was looking at your nerves, so
My
spinal
nerves are a hot mess these days.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I can't believe that didn't go to mine. Did it go to mine?
Spinal nerves? I don't recall.
I think I had a
the
lower
one that
disc
it's picking up on is the fifth neck, the fifth cervical vertebrae up in the neck. Of course, it affects all the spinal nerves, but saying the root of the issue is up in the cervical spine. You mentioned your left breast there.
Mhm.
Wow.
Just showed it. there.
Okay.
It wasn't grossly out of position, but or out of the inflammation wasn't crazy. Also, this finds a lot of fungal infections. Okay, systemically. Okay, so it's
Interesting.
finding that it's connected to the right foot.
Okay.
So a lot of systemic fungal infections are genetically rooted in the feet. You see a lot of athlete's foot. You see toenail fungus, right? These type
So
of things.
those foot bath detoxes that, I don't even know if you have somebody here that does it.
Yep.
You know, Jay Jokery does, and
Yep.
the next door lady does it.
Yeah.
Right, I think she does.
Mm-hmm.
But are those really, they feel funky, like, okay, is this really accomplishing a lot? Is it
Yeah.
a good idea then?
Yeah. Yeah. I use them here.
Especially
Yeah.
So
because
that's
I'm in sandals till snow
so the
comes.
left shoulder joint. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Research is done.
So if we take a look now, of course the biggest thing we talked about was the pancreas, this area right here. That's where a lot of the inflammation showed up. But if we take a look at just the general rundown of all the pictures it just took, right? The yellow is the, minimally inflamed tissues. The red is the most inflamed. The green is the optimal areas.
Sure.
We can also add a few more. I know we wanted to take a look directly at the left breast, right? So we can take a look at that in more detail. And let's take a look at the breast scan. I'm going to see if it's in this. These are all the lymph nodes.
What's that, breast up above or?
No, I'm still figuring out where they store that. The pictures are all categorized. It's probably in It's the ovaries. Trying to think where they would have put that.
Haven't had anybody with a breast one yet, huh?
Oh yeah, we've done plenty of them. It's my memory, not the scan. But they store things sometimes in places that are not really intuitive, like it'd be under the GI or something. Let's take a look neurologically. Certain scans that I haven't memorized yet, so bear with me.
Oh, that's fine.
It's in here. So we checked here, you checked there. Can't imagine it would be in the vascular. What's this? Hunt and peck and should be in the hormone area, but it's not. I don't think it would be here, but there it is.
Oh my.
So it's under the sensors, so for some reason. And we wanted to look at the left, so that's the left. And you can see there's, there's two shades of yellow. That's a 1 and a 2 score. That's most optimal function. And then you have this orange right here. That's a 3 score. Okay, so it's not just saying slight deviation. Then there's a red triangle. That's a 4. And then there's a brown, which is a 5, and a black is 6. So, but I can tell there's something in there. And if we look at, if we go to the detail, actually, let's take the front view too. Maybe we can see if there's anything else. That was in the sensor area. Now maybe I'll remember it next time. But this will look more at the glands and stuff.
Okay.
You can kind of see it looks similar. There's just that orange. So then if you dig into the details, and here's this gonna answer a question, look at the Epstein bar. Okay, so so there, and it's saying that the gene that the Epstein bar is creating or activating is mastalgia, so just inflammation in the breast.
Okay.
Once again, that score today is a 1.995. Closer to 0 would be more of an issue, and if it got closer to 0, you might start noticing changes on the mammogram.
Okay.
However, it hasn't gotten to that point, but it has potential to, right?
Sure.
So what you're trying to do is bring the potential away from that point,
That makes
by
sense.
getting that number to 13.
Does caffeine affect that? Because I remember getting lumps in my breast, and I had never had so much caffeine, but it was when all my 3 kids were in Marshfield Hospital and they didn't know what was wrong with it. I'm trying to be there for them, and I'm drinking coffee because it's a friend.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
coffee
and
is...
I got so many lumps, and I got back, and the doctor said, we told you before you left the last time that you have concerns in your mammogram.
Yeah.
And it turned out they withdrew, they did aspiration and said, just please cut back on your caffeine.
Yeah. Caffeine affects estrogen metabolism with the liver, so usually it's more of a liver thing.
Got it, okay.
Okay.
But those disappeared actually, so whatever. I
Yeah.
just nosy if you found anything different nowadays.
Yeah. It's
Because mine said to minimize
it's
it,
more
but-
like a liver issue
Okay.
that then secondarily it would affect the breast.
Okay.
The hyperestrogenism is also a gene, right? So it's saying that there's potential to run too high an estrogen level that connects to this fungal infection, but that today is at a 5.4, so we're not entirely concerned about it. It's on our radar, and looking forward we can track it now. Okay.
Okay.
Let's go back to just the general views here. So pancreas, so for example, that was where, so it is saying like the risk is diabetes, okay, genetically speaking. That gene right now is a 0.474.
So if I wasn't watching my diet, that's where I'd be probably headed genetically
You'd be pushing
speaking.
those buttons more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So if you're playing that game too hard and you have some predisposition, there's what it's saying is there's high potential that would at some point become the outcome.
Okay.
Okay. However, if you change that to 13, there's very low potential
Sure.
that would be the outcome. Okay.
Nice.
So now we know where you are today, and as we move forward throughout time, we can be monitoring that number, right? So it gives us a really objective measure of where are we at any given time.
Okay.
Now below that, those numbers, where there's no numbers, is that something that was there and it's already, the body's been tackling it? Cause she changed her whole lifestyle of eating.
Yeah, the body's it's already been resolved. Like it has very
In
low
those
potential
areas.
of
Wow.
becoming a problem at this point in time, ever in the future. Okay.
Nice.
So if you just for example, like this gene, diabetes, is a 0.474. Okay, if you go to the very bottom and you take the last gene on the scan, progressive diabetes, it says another diabetes gene, and you put this one on the list, okay, that's a 28,262. Okay, so what that's saying is that is so far from ever activating. It would be
Wow.
Awesome.
be like winning the Powerball
That's what I wanted to understand with that.
to get that one to activate,
Sure.
right? But the other one is like, whoa, that's like maybe at this
5.
point, yeah, like could very well happen, right?
Yeah.
Given no changes.
Sure.
Right? So now we just need to be aware of, okay, why?
Not that I want to be eating that way to activate such a thing,
Right.
but still, like,
Yeah, it would never be the intention, right, to activate that.
Right.
But now we can say, okay, well, we know that the biggest player in this is the E. coli bacteria. Okay, so let's target that with some plant medicine, right? This is a parasite, bacteria parasite. So we have some things left, okay, but the thing that's closest to zero is E. coli. So it would make sense to give you some targeted support for that.
sure.
And I would say I would also treat the amoeba as well. Okay. Then we go from a 2.5 to 7.8. Okay, so you just kind of use reason. Let's treat the things that are most problematic. On Anya's test, we printed all of these so that she's not more of a mess than everyone else.
Right,
Okay,
right.
just we printed more detail, but
Right.
really what I would need to just focus on are the big things. Okay.
Okay.
Moving forward. Now, if we go to heart valves, for example. So let's take a look. So it's saying basically the risk we're running is mitral valve insufficiency or failure of the mitral valve. Okay. When it went through the details, it was saying that, hey, this valve is not making enough type 9 collagen to repair itself efficiently. Okay, so if it gets battered by a bacteria for a while, it needs to repair,
Okay.
right? And the repair mechanism is somewhat suboptimal. Okay, so the risk we're running is if you do get a systemic bacteria and it goes into that valve, it may not be able to repair itself. Okay, which then we'd have some valve replacement or something down the road. So knowing that, right, we're going to take a look at what, and it's saying Bacterium lactis aerogenes. Okay, so it's now naming the bacteria that would be behind what's not allowing your system to repair it.
Okay.
So when we were talking about this, instead of taking type 9 collagen, let's fix the machinery,
Oh, got it.
right, and allow the body to do what it was intended to do.
Right.
Nice.
Got it.
There's also a couple other genes in there, an arrhythmia gene, okay, and also extra heartbeat, okay.
Mhm.
So those two genes are on the list, but nowhere near what's going on in the valve at this moment.
Okay.
You see further down the list, you see that Epstein barr in there too again.
Still
right? So,
niggling at things.
so it's kind of trying to get in there too, right? It's like, hey, party's going on. Let's join it. So if we add a few plant medicines, so you get a few that really score high for you, especially hawthorn being the #1 plant medicine for your heart,
Okay.
which has always been used for the heart. Rose is really high scoring, right?
Okay.
So even like rose essential oil, putting that on the heart would be good.
Okay.
Calendula, hops, really good. So those are the ones we have here. I'll put those together for you.
Okay.
This one right here, we have cannabis. So here's CBD, right? So another helpful thing for your immune system right now. Mistletoe tastes good. Nettle leaf, valerian root, lemon balm, vinca. So we do have a fair amount of these, and the ones we have, we'll will give you, and it'll help to move that energy towards a better state of balance.
Okay.
Food wise, these are all the foods in green: laminaria, so seaweed, right? That the iodine being
darn.
tested.
Should not have that, huh?
No, you should.
Oh, I should.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
sheesh.
Yeah. Remember, green is good.
Okay.
So I'm gonna check the ones that I recognize. Brussels sprouts. There you go.
Man, no.
We're just joking about that.
That doesn't mean you have to have that one. Increase some of these,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And actually, I like cabbage better than lettuce for like my salads.
Yeah.
So I get
Yeah.
bags of cabbage, shredded
Perfect.
cabbage, and use that for,
No
add
horse, no
veggies
horse,
to it.
You
Yeah.
increase your horse beef.
Oh, jeez. What
Yeah.
is
Brandy.
horse beef? Red wine. I don't like wines either,
No,
which is
no,
kind
I'd
of
say,
sad.
yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a couple from the yellow list as considered neutral foods. Okay, so they're not.
So this is stuff you're putting in.
These are things you want to add more
Oh.
of. Yes, correct. Now I usually go up through like 0.5, so even the ones on the neutral list that are closer to the green list are still very beneficial foods.
Okay.
It's just saying like these ones kind of, you have this spectrum where certain foods really push you forward, certain foods are kind of neutral, right?
Sure.
And then there's the ones that kind of put you in reverse,
I
right?
don't want to see that.
Yeah, we can just stop right here. We'll just not look, right?
He's on the same page.
I'm very afraid.
Bet you hear it all in here.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, I just had a bunch of vodka last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I had.
Yeah.
I was.
Girls
Oh,
got
I don't like
together.
coffee, so you don't even have to put that
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
list.
nice.
I know. It's
That's
kind of
always like
helpful.
the big one up here, but
Uh-huh.
yeah. I'll put all of these on.
So
here. This-
raspberry vodka is what I have with my.
Well, you
Diet
don't make like you're
soda.
drunk. A bunch of girls went to Kentucky, is it? And got
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's
I,
not
don't,
like
I, don't, I haven't been eating ice cream. I don't think I've had ice cream since, I don't know, before
I think your
December.
bigger violation.
Chocolate? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's a one that I was told never take from a woman, but here we
Yeah,
go.
bulletproof vest.
You're
you
so
got on?
mean. I thought I liked you.
Yeah.
Now look
Yeah,
at me.
okay.
I get this from her, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a chocolate drawer at our house. Fine chocolate.
I don't like honey.
I don't
That's
like it
helpful.
much, but
Yeah.
I hate honey. I can't get it.
Some
And
of
I
the, do you do teas at all?
No.
Tea, okay. We don't need to worry about that then. Peanut, chicken, potato.
Peanuts don't like me. Chicken?
Yep. We saw that too on Timmy's, but not biologically.
Right.
And these aren't exclude. These are reduce.
Yes.
Minimize.
Yeah. Remember minimize.
Remember, it
Yeah.
doesn't gonna. This
Yeah.
isn't gonna affect your total.
Cola
It's
drinks,
just
huh?
you're just.
You're-
It's gonna help your energy to fix your immune system. Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's gonna help you heal yourself.
I think oh no, I was going to order the catfish last week when we were in Tennessee and I didn't do it.
Interesting.
I
Like,
love fish.
If you go to remember with Anya how I was showing you the 1.8,
Uh-huh.
right? So the ones that are over 1.8, I try to take out entirely, right? Which is helpful. Now
I
it
can
doesn't,
I can do those very
but
easily.
it's like milk, wheat.
yeah,
milk
those
and
I
wheat,
can do.
Right. So dairy and wheat, right? So if you were to avoid
Well,
anything,
all
those
of
would be.
dairy, like
Well, I would say not all. I would
the
say
ice cream I can do. That the cow's milk I can do.
Yeah.
Because cow's milk started to taste like a cow smells to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is really
I
weird. So I just gave it up.
Yeah, pork would be the next one.
Okay. I haven't had much
So,
of that either.
So those would be
What
the
about
ones.
so turkey is okay?
Yeah, so if it's not on the good or the avoid, it's in the neutral,
Okay.
which means it's okay. Yeah, it's just not really, it's not really healing, but it's not hurting. Turkey's right there. Okay, so it's in the
Okay.
neutral category.
And in the better neutral.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere in the, so it's
Oh,
probably
maybe
more
not.
in the worst neutral. Yeah,
Oh,
closer
shoot.
to the black than the,
Okay.
but still not a
Oh,
big
that's
deal.
right. You said 0.8, not okay.
Yeah, 1.8 is the number. So if the number goes over 1.8, I take patients off the food,
Okay.
or try to. And if they don't, we're still using plant medicines, essential oils. We're doing other things to bring back that into balance. So maybe it takes 2 more weeks or something, right? So
Okay.
it's not a game changer.
That's interesting that
Okay.
beef shows as being good.
This one.
The
showed
beef
up
just
okay
above
for
that.
me, not
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
not pork though.
Not pork. Yeah.
Ken would have bacon every other day.
Yeah. So certain foods just create more inflammation, right? Let's take a look at your spinal nerves. This is what we were looking right up in that cervical spine. It said C5. Okay, is the area where that was most connected to. So interesting. Notice Lyme disease, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
that's now been dealt with.
So something I have dealt with in the past.
and more recent past. Okay.
Interesting.
Because when you look at the number, it's a 39. Remember 13. So what
Is
that
that
might be
true?
like 2 years ago.
Are they finding that out, that it's transmittable from other people at all, or just not getting bit? Because my daughter in New York, everybody on one street has it, on both sides of the road.
Yeah.
Except the two houses, and they don't have dogs.
Oh,
and
interesting.
they have not always had ticks either. And one family was 3 kids were sick, and one as bad as she's talking about. I mean,
Sure.
ambulance there many times, and you know,
Sure.
but
Well,
it's
I think
everywhere
it's a
there.
combination of genetic predisposition to Lyme. Number
they
one.
don't remember having a tick. Is my
Yeah.
point.
For sure.
So
So I'd
brushing
say
their
that I
dog
call
with
it
one, or
Yeah, and I call it generational Lyme, where if
Got
you
it.
come into contact with it and you have a higher predisposition, okay,
and
then
your immune system isn't set up right.
right.
Got it. Okay.
So I think it's more about
because you
what-
told Ken had a something Lyme's, but it wasn't full blown. What is you told him yesterday? It was not
he had one of the co-infections,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah. okay. I'll be quiet now. Sorry.
No, you're good. But all it's saying is that when we look at the spinal nerves, there's still 3 genes that are active, but there's no infection anymore.
Okay.
So it just means like all we have to do at this point is just work on the genetic component. We don't have to take the immune component. It's not as
The
important.
treating
because
it
yeah.
essentially. Kind
Yeah,
of.
there's really no current or even any chronic infection at this point in time. It's just the switch. So remember, genes are like light switches, right? So here you go. You're living life, and then you lose your the word you used on your dad, right? What happens, right? You go through a stress, and the switch turns on. Now, if that switch is Lyme disease, right? We're gonna find a way to create that, okay, or create radiculopathy. We're gonna start feeling nerve symptoms somewhere, right? But really, it had to be initiated at some point in time, because it most likely, unless it initiated in utero, that's another option too, right? So sometimes a parent goes through a stress, and the kid, the embryo, there's genetic activation then, right? So
Okay.
sometimes those things start earlier than even what we would think. But once it turns on, until it's re-expressed in a different way, it's always on. Okay, so this is our whole thesis on disease is, if my parents had it and it turns on when I'm 40, I'm gonna just go down with it, right? And
Systemic lupus. What are all those? Oh, and I see syringomyelia. I only know what that is because my friend's husband has.
Sure. Yeah, and there's, a lot of things, like I tell patients, if you want to scare yourself, just scroll down a little bit.
But they're done with.
But they're done with it.
Yeah, dealt with.
Right. Yeah, so they're
Craziness.
not scary anymore. So that was the spinal
Now, did
nerves.
anything show up in my as a throat thing?
Let's take a look there. There's going to be a lot of things that show up in some other way, right?
Sure.
So when we look at this is the opposite situation where we looked at the right foot, and this Microsporum canis is a fungal infection. Okay, so it's a systemic fungus, but there's nothing showing genetically on the scan, right? So it's saying like this fungus is having some other effect on the system somewhere else. So could this be a part of the throat thing? Yes. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
But wouldn't be intuitively obvious. We just want to watch the level of this in time. Notice also the Epstein-Barr virus being in there too. So this is just a package of microbes that are affecting the skin subclinically.
Okay.
Okay. And probably with your neck, the thyroid would make the most sense there. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of people just get swelling around the thyroid. You can see it's just some red and yellow.
tapping help that? I've heard tapping helps
Mhm.
that because you don't necessarily have a thyroid problem,
Mhm.
just tension or things.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there is an energy problem there, okay?
Okay.
But it's we were talking about your daughter Anya, right? So the same bacteria. So
Okay.
Bacillus cereus, what it causes is can create goiter. Remember laminaria seaweed was right at the top of your list, so taking iodine is gonna be really beneficial for
Okay.
you. That's how you would get rid of a goiter, okay? And of course, untreated, it would be more hypothyroid, so fatigue, right? That would be the symptom. And then you have a touch of the Epstein-Barr and its sister virus, cytomegalovirus. Okay, these two are sisters. And they both basically create the same thing. But
Okay.
the level is fairly mild with the virus. We're more concerned about this bacteria that seems to be related to a lot of autoimmune thyroid.
Okay.
But I think when you talk about your neck, I can't help but imagine that it's not related to the thyroid.
Okay.
I think like the goiter is swelling, right?
Yeah,
And it starts to like pressure different areas around there. Would make sense to me. Liver gallbladder. So let's take a look at this here. So it's really picking up a couple different things, okay? Dyskinesia or improper movement of the gallbladder, okay, is at the top of the list, followed by fatty liver, okay? So that's another risk, right, that we could run into. And then also just hepatitis.
Ugh.
Once again, that connected to E. coli, which we saw previously in one of the other scans, right? So once again, treat one thing affects a lot of things, right? It's also saying, yeah, there's some persistent hepatitis A in there, okay? And that's mostly foodborne, okay? But it just means like our genetic resistance to that is not real high. Could be better. It's not real low either. So
Yeah.
something to work on. And we looked at the heart valves. This is probably picking up the same thing. Yeah, it's picking up that same heart valve. So just a different view. And let's look at the spleen. And so splenomegaly, so enlarged spleen, okay, once again, I'm gonna have to look up this microbe. I know I've looked it up in the past with a patient. I'm not entirely familiar with that. I don't see that one enough.
Okay.
It's saying that infection is rooted in the spleen. It's the number one thing in there,
Okay.
followed by Epstein-Barr virus, okay? These other things are having some effect on it, but not quite as significantly. I'm just gonna add a couple plant medicines. Hops came up on that other scan that we did, so we already have that one in there.
So hops is beer.
Yeah. A part
You
of
did
it.
anyway.
A part of
Beer.
it, I should say. Yeah, yeah. The wheat part might be a problem, but
Yeah.
let me take a look at the thoracic scan. You can see that aorta in here, and of course, it's picking up that pancreas. Okay, that's
Sure.
so a lot of these are picking up similar imbalances. Yeah, so there's that diabetes genes finding. It's also saying there's potential arrhythmia. So we saw those on the other scans. This bacteria showed up previously as well with the thyroid picked up on that scan. So I kind of looked at the whole abdominal cavity, picked up some things that we already saw on the other scans. So we have a good starting point. Okay, we have, if we look at the review, which, let me just check these. I'll print these pictures for you so you have a copy of those. And there's a really cool feature in the software where we can do a comparison study.
Okay.
And we can take a look side by side at what's changed in that duration of time. But if we look at your review here, okay, so it's saying the number one concern is the mitral valve, okay, by number, followed by diabetes, followed by the gallbladder, followed by the liver, followed by the heart, followed by the thyroid, okay? So, it kind of gives us a working list, okay? And of course, we're gonna focus on the most imbalanced things first. However, most of these issues are all coming from the same bugs.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like, you work a these, and that's gonna work with all of this.
Sure.
Okay. Now, Microsporum is saying this fungal infection is the number one imbalance in the whole system,
Interesting.
followed by the autoimmune bacteria that we found in the thyroid, okay, causing that goiter and the hypothyroidism. This microbe is the one that I told you I'm not entirely, I'd have to do some research on that. That came up in the spleen, okay. And then we had E. coli. E. coli came up in a few places, the pancreas and also the gallbladder, liver pathways. Dientamoeba fragilis, that's a parasitic infection, and then followed by the Epstein-Barr, right? So it seems to be, on a lot of the scans, Epstein-Barr is what we're aware of a lot right now in society, but I think it's kind of an outsider. If we looked at it in truth on a deeper level, we would see some other things that are not allowing our immune system to totally eradicate the Epstein-Barr.
Okay.
Okay. I put a few other things on the list that came down the list that we can watch in time.
Okay.
And we talked about the score getting to 11, like the cytomegalovirus is at, getting to 13. This is at an 11 today, so we're pretty close to eradication of that virus, but the goal is to get to 13. Plant therapies, these are the plants that we would mix together for you, okay, to stimulate that system, try to support the areas where we have the imbalance, with the top plant being hawthorn. Okay. So these all go together outside of cannabis. So if you are using a hemp already, do you have?
Well, I've been forgetting to take it, and okay, Timmy's the one that needs it the most, so I just it was on the back burner. But we have, like I said, the HempWorks one is what we've been using in our family.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so I would just continue to use that and use that with yourself too. I'll give you that permission.
We're Wisconsin here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the hemp stuff. We don't have the
THC.
Yeah, right. Yes.
It has minutia amounts of THC.
Yes, the legal one. Right?
Yeah.
Food list, is here, and I'll print this for you. So all the good, and then on the negative side, I put the alcohol on there for you too.
So where's my
Your line?
Line.
Your line is right.
It'll show up as minimized, right?
Yeah, I'll draw it on your paper, but it starts at cottage cheese, which.
Because 0.5 or less, and then.
Yeah, then you see the jump in number there.
1.2, yeah.
Right. So you get the 0.5; those are all beneficial, and then at 1.2 it starts to become more negative. Okay. And I tell patients, don't sweat this stuff. Okay, live your life, but be aware of it, and just awareness typically will create enough change, right? That we don't need to be worried about it. We're going to be doing a lot of other things outside of diet.
So the wheat course, is that different from non-course?
It just seems to be gluten. Yeah.
Oh, gluten. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to print that. Any other questions you have with the scan?
I don't think so. I mean, I think this is going to be really helpful. Even just, I obviously don't grasp all of the everything about
I don't
it.
Expect you to.
But but it's been fascinating to have you share a lot about it.
Yeah. Too bad you don't have an automatic video on it, because it is something you want to digest better at home.
Well, there is a good website I'll share with you from the